And one of the classic examples I'll begin with is about the rich man who wanted to build a house. Now, as you probably realize, if you have a lot of money and you want to build a house, you're probably very demanding. And this rich man was no exception to the rule. He put an ad in the paper, and a lot of people actually applied to build his house, and he knew what he wanted pretty much. So he had a set of criteria, which he used to filter all the people who wanted to build his house, and he knew what to ask them about specific tools. He had examples of buildings which, he had seen, and he wanted to see how they would approach the building of those buildings. So every person who came through his list, he would ask him a set of questions, and those set of questions became the filter which he used to pick the right person who was going to build the right house for him. So he went through the applicant number 1 and applicant number 2, and he sort of kept rejecting them for different reasons. And applicant number 3 and applicant number 4, he can go to applicant number 5, and he seemed to have all the tools, and he had all the experience, and he showed him all the skill sets and everything. So he picked him. And he thought, this is great. This guy, all the boxes checked, project underway, deposit paid, timeline agreed. So the months rolled on, and the house began to take shape. So he paid the guy a visit to see what he was doing, and he wasn't quite satisfied because perhaps there were some corners which should have been square and they were round, and some round corners should have been square, and some windows should have been bigger and some smaller. So he sort of nitpicked here, nitpicked there, and the guy said to him, look, if we need to do this, we need to have a different kind of tool, and we haven't got that different kind of tool, but if we use this kind of tool, well, we can do this. So the guy was really, really dissatisfied, so he fired the guy. So he went through the process of hiring new people, and he sort of filtered the new people he put in his ads, and then he hired somebody new, and the new person came in, and he had a different set of tools. So he sort of undid a little bit of the work and did a little bit of new work, and the house began to take shape again. And the rich man paid him a visit, and he said, let's see how this is going. It's looking a little bit different, and maybe it's a little bit better, but it doesn't feel right. And the guy said to him, oh, look, this is nothing, because the tools we use are cutting edge, and they do this and they do that. And he showed him that, and the guy was really unhappy. So he fired that guy as well. So another ad went in the paper, and by now he was beginning to get very disgruntled and very disappointed. And a lot of people applied. And from the people who applied, there was also a guy who seemed he was a little bit old and a little bit out of date. And the rich man, when he got to him, said to him, okay, what sort of tools are you going to use? Let's go through the list of things which I think you should have. And the guy said to him, well, okay, look, before we get to that, let me ask you a few questions. And the guy asked him a few questions about his hobbies and the kind of weather he liked best and where he would like to go on holidays. And they sort of struck up a conversation, and to cut a very long story short, they sort of got to like each other. And the rich man thought, well, I kind of like this guy, so I'm going to give him a shot. So he hired him. And the guy, got the job and got the deposit, and off he went. And, like everybody else, he probably undid a few things and redid a few other things. And a few months later, the rich man visited to see how's it going. And the house didn't look substantially different. There were a few modifications here and a few modifications there, and walls had shifted just a tiny little bit, and perhaps doors had become smaller or larger, windows the same, and corners had been changed. But he liked it. He really did. So he said to the guy, what sort of tools did you use? And the old man said, well, I don't have a lot of tools. That just may do. He goes, but I really like this house. How did you do it? And the old guy looked at him and said, well, it's difficult to explain, but, if you like it, that's great. I'll be finished in about a month and you can pay me. He goes, yeah, okay, no problem. But I really want to know how you did this. And the old man scratched his head and thought, well, he said, there's no real secret here because, we just talked. And I sort of realized that you didn't need a house. You needed a home.